Hello. Welcome to FlavorSum's Blueprints for Success webinar. Thank you for taking time to join us today. I'm Lisa Jackson, Director of Marketing at FlavorSum, and today we're going to be sharing insights gathered from proprietary research within North America. We talked to almost 1,000 consumers. We asked about the benefits that they're looking for from food and beverages. Our goal for today's session is to help you identify opportunities for creating products that align with consumer needs across categories, ingredients, and flavors. We are using Microsoft Teams, as you noticed today, and the platform is a little bit different than Zoom. If you have questions during the session, if you could put them in the chat, I'll pick them up at the end. That's a toolbar that should be at the top of your screen. We are recording the meeting and the session, and I'll have a copy for you before the end of the week. All right, let's get started. If you're in the food and beverage business, you've likely seen a lot about functionality in the press. Estimates about the size of the functional food and beverage market really do vary. It depends on the analyst's definition of functionality and the categories that they choose to include. Forecasts of growth also vary. Compound annual growth rates range from a low end of about 5% all the way up to 11% over the next 6 to 7 years. And you can kind of see two estimates here. So right now we're saying in 2021 about $280 billion globally, with an upside of almost $530 billion by 2028. Regardless of the numbers, everybody agrees it's a big opportunity, primarily because consumers are saying that they are focusing more on food and beverages as solutions that help them manage their health and well-being. You also see various ingredients in the headlines. I pulled one from an industry publication recently that said adaptogens are taking center stage in stress reduction. And social listening platforms, there's an example here, also show that consumers are investigating functionality. This chart says that across the US, more than 70% of people this year are engaging in the topic online. They're searching for it, they're researching it, they're blogging about it, posting on social media, looking for recipes. So there's a lot of activity around this idea of functionality. That's what that line represents. And they're engaging in the topic. It's up 15% versus a year ago, but most of the increase is driven by pretty mainstream ingredients like protein and fiber, or the more generic superfood. When we look at what's going on with functionality on the shelf, we kind of see a similar perspective. This chart tracks food and beverage launches recorded in Mintel's global new product database over the last 2 decades. And it shows the number of launches that are associated with various functional claims. You see, I've got a whole laundry list there listed below the graph. And you'll see that with the exception of low allergen, which is the green line, or gluten-free, which is the purple line, which represent 29% and 25% of the launches with claims in 2021. Most of these other things are not doing much in terms of functional benefits. The next 3 claims with the most activity are actually, and you can't really delineate them, are high protein, high fiber, and dairy-free, but they're all well below 10%. So for all that we're saying it's occurring in the press, there's not a lot of claim activity going on at the retail shelf. And remember that headline where I said adaptogens are taking center stage in terms of stress reduction, adaptogens. So this chart shows food and beverage launches that mention adaptogens either in the product description or on pack. And you see that the products are actually calling out a mix of benefits. And there's a lot of mess here. These are all associated with these lines below, but I took a look at the 43 launches that have occurred year to date that deal with adaptogens and what are the claims associated with them, and it's a mixed bag. So the top one was actually vegan, followed by stress and sleep, and that's what adaptogens are really focused on. But then there was also mention of brain health, plant-based, and energy. So the landscape really isn't very clear, and we wanted to get direct feedback from consumers about what they know so that we as suppliers of solutions can help deliver the results. So we decided to reach out to them directly to get a clearer perspective about functionality. And we did an online survey, North American consumers. We launched it in May of 2021. As I mentioned, almost 1,000 respondents. In the US, 550 and the balance in Canada. To qualify for the study, they had to be 21 or older, not employed in a critical industry like food or beverage, because we didn't want them predisposed or biased, having insider information. We really wanted to get a sense of the general population. They needed to have shopped for a functional benefit product in the past year, do at least half of the grocery shopping for products, including those with functional benefits. And they had to be interested in trying at least one product offering a functional benefit in the future. So they had to be actively engaged in the category or very interested in the category. Now, that said, we wanted to get everybody on the same page. So we gave them this definition in the screening requirements so that everyone came in with the same level of understanding. Food, beverage, vitamin, or supplement that has a potentially positive effect on health beyond nutrition is considered functional. Functional products are said to also promote optimal health and help reduce the risk of disease. So everybody walked into the survey with that as a baseline knowledge. With that said, who's interested in functional food and beverages? This shows our results across the US and Canada, and there's broad interest across the population. In the US, about 2/3 of those that we interviewed were interested. Interest is higher among younger consumers in the US. You can see 21 to 34-year-old and 35 to 49. We have about 7 in 10 of both of those target audiences. It really dropped off pretty precipitously among older consumers, and that was a surprise to us. So those 50 and older, only about half of them said that they're interested in functional benefits. Perspective is different in Canada. In Canada, you have a higher overall level of interest in functionality with 3 and 4 in total. And unlike the US, where we saw interest diminish over the age groups, we actually saw it a little more stable. We did see a dip among 35 to 49-year-olds, but then it resurged among older consumers. So now that we understand who, we wanted to know why. And virtually all of those people that we surveyed are open to trying new products that offer a relevant benefit. That's this first statement up at the top. And it's at the top of the leaderboard for both consumers in the US and Canada. Consumers feel that the benefit is most important. It's actually more important than the form of the product and the flavor. Now, that's not to say that these aren't important. They want to have a form that's familiar and they want to have a flavor that tastes good, certainly, because they want to buy it again potentially. But the driver of interest in these products is really what is the benefit that you're promising. Now, cost concerns could be a hurdle to overcome. Simply because you have less than half that say that they're worth the extra price. But we'll dig deeper into that to understand more what could be underpinning that concern. So it's less than half of Americans, and then much significantly lower among Canadians, saying it's not worth the price. It's important to note that Canadians in our survey were much less interested in trying these functional products. Now, that said, you had 74% say yes, but then when you asked why, they were pretty lukewarm in terms of their reasons why. So it suggests to me that I don't think that the market isn't fertile. I think it is, because you have 3 and 4 saying, yes, I need something to support my health and well-being. I think it's perhaps that we need more education and persuasion in the Canadian market to match those expectations, because right now they're not really sure about what's going on in the category. And in fact, when we probed a little further and we said, okay, why are you skeptical about trying these things? These are the answers that they gave. And I've got them color coded. So those that you see in gold really have to do with the top reason people are afraid of these products, and it's skepticism. I think they're fads. The claims aren't believable. They're not scientifically proven, or I haven't seen the science. The bars shown in green are the price concerns that we saw in the earlier, right? They're too expensive. I don't think the benefits outweigh the expense. But that could be because they're not exactly sure what they're buying. There's also then that lack of knowledge that we started to talk about. I don't know enough about. I'm hesitant to consume. I don't know about them. I'm concerned about their safety. There's also a trust issue. They're not sure if they trust the manufacturers or that there's the appropriate oversight to make sure that the product is safe and won't cause any harm. And then you also have a few mentions that dealt with taste, right? I don't think they taste as good. I don't like the taste and flavor. So we know we have some barriers to overcome, but we think part of the reason those barriers exist is because we don't understand exactly what consumers want. And so that was the next area that we explored. We asked them about a number of benefits, and then we did a factor analysis of the data, because it was a boatload of data, because we wanted to understand the associations that consumers make. And it's not that these benefits are interchangeable. It's just that when you group them, you create broader themes that help identify consumer priorities and your development opportunities. So when we asked about longevity and brain health, digestive health, heart health, immunity support, and joint health, consumers kind of group those all as baseline health benefits. These are the fundamentals I need to have a great day. The next level of benefit, where you found alertness, emotional well-being, energy, fitness, hair, skin, and nail health, something for my mood, something to help me relax, something to help me manage my weight, those fit into what we call a health enhancement. So I have my fundamentals in good shape. Now I want to get an optimum performance from my body and have a great day. And then the last two buckets we categorized into two. One is free from. So give me something that's allergen free, gluten free, or lactose free. And then give me a remedy. And the remedies really center around two benefits, both that are interrelated: anti-inflammatory and pain relief. So we have an understanding really of how they group them together, but we still want to look at each one individually to see what's most important. And that's what this next chart looks at. This is the percent of people who say they are extremely interested in a product that delivers this benefit. I have them color coded to match those buckets that we just looked at. So those that are in dark blue are for baseline health. Those that are in light blue are health enhancing benefits. And then green are those free from or remedies. And at the top of the leaderboard are those baseline health benefits. And that's not surprising, right? That's a foundational element of having a good day, really, with the exception of anti-inflammatory, which makes the top 5. So you have immunity, brain health, heart health, and digestive health at the top of the board. The next tier, the two health enhancement benefits, relaxation and hair, skin, and nail, are in this, 4 out of 10 folks saying I'm really interested in that. The rest of the health enhancing benefits fall down below, where you have between, it's about 3 and 10, almost 4 and 10. And then you see the rest of the benefits here, with the allergen-free, lactose-free, and gluten-free at the bottom of the list. Now, it's not that those aren't important. We're just trying to get a sense of priority in terms of what they're looking for today. When it comes to identifying opportunities, we know what they're interested in. Then we ask, well, have you shopped for it? Have you found a solution? So I took that same data. The green bar is the percent that was extremely interested. The blue bar is the percent that say, yes, I found a solution. This begins to help us identify white space in the functional benefit areas, so that immunity support, for example, 4 and almost half are extremely interested, and about that same amount say, yep, I found a solution. Now, that doesn't mean this isn't an opportunity. On the next slide, I'll elaborate more. But what it does begin to uncover, as I said, are those white spaces. So brain health is one at the top, where 4 and 10 say, yes, I want something for brain health, but less than a third have found a solution. So you start to see that brain health, anti-aging, emotional well-being, alertness. And then even at the bottom, this is surprising, even though they're not extremely interested, the ones that are interested are saying, I really haven't found the solution that I need. So this is one perspective. I'm interested, and I may or may not have found a solution. But if you find a solution and you don't like it, there's still an opportunity there. So that's the second perspective that we look at. In the blue bar, again, it's I found the solution. Now the green bar is, and am I satisfied with the results? And here you begin to see another perspective on opportunity. So that's where I meant about immunity support. Yes, I'm very interested. Yes, I found a solution, but I am not happy with what's out there. And so you see that in many of the baseline and health enhancing benefit areas, there is a tremendous opportunity to improve customer satisfaction. Again, what was surprising to us is at the bottom of this list, where we had fairly low level of interest. We had a bunch of people who didn't find solutions, but those who did find solutions say, I'm doing okay. So if you are interested in offering a benefit in this area, like lactose-free or gluten-free, it's important that you get out in front of consumers, because they can't find you. So that's a way to marry these two pieces of information, or these two insights, so that you can really identify the pathway, start crafting your blueprint to lead you to success. When we saw these results, then the next logical question for us is, why aren't you satisfied? What's missing? And these are among those who have purchased and have indicated that they're dissatisfied. And again, I've grouped their responses by color. The main source of dissatisfaction is from that I didn't experience any results. The products are not beneficial. We have been programmed to expect immediate gratification. And so we want to feel it and see it working almost immediately. So that's a perspective to keep in mind if you're working on benefits that might not be realized immediately, like anti-aging. Those might have greater hurdles to overcome to continue to maintain consumer interest and repeat purchase. Price is shown in green. That's also a barrier, but that one can probably be overcome or managed if you can figure out a way to offer a size price combination that minimizes the risk to consumers. So let them try perhaps a smaller size and have another size that they could migrate up to as potential solution. Or you could focus on benefits that deliver more immediate results. You're going to meet expectations that way also. The other reasons for dissatisfaction reflect what we saw earlier about people who haven't tried them at all, right? I'm not sure that what I'm buying really is what they promised it to be. So there's that skepticism. The distrust of manufacturers entered into this equation also, as well as the lack of performance from a flavor and texture perspective. We understand where they want to go in terms of benefits. We understand what they're shopping for, what they're missing. But we saw throughout this that there's just perhaps a lack of understanding from consumers. And so we wanted to know what they understood. And so these are all the benefits that we explored. And I'm going to escape out of here for a minute, because what I'd like to do, because you see that there's a range, right? There's some more mainstream, and then there's really niche. And we did that deliberately because we wanted to get insight into the depth of understanding across this broad audience. So what I'd like to do is exit out of here. And if you don't mind going to the chat and choose the top two, let's see if I can do this. Yeah, choose the top two ingredients that you think consumers know the most about. And I gave you a clue earlier in the presentation, but let's see if you can pick them off this list. If you don't mind going to the chat and let me see if I can get there somehow. Here we go. I have to put my glasses on to read your results. Are you able to put answers in the chat and tell me which benefits you think are most important? I'm going to put my screen back up so you can see them. No, you're not able to do it? Oh, thank you. Okay, so I see caffeine, melatonin, adaptogens, caffeine, protein, fiber, caffeine and fiber. Go back to my list. All right. So let me start sharing again, and I will share the results with you. So this chart shows the percentage of people who claim to know a lot about an ingredient. So up at the top are fiber and protein, followed by caffeine, antioxidants, and melatonin. So fiber and protein are those mainstream ingredients that have been out there for a long time. And we saw, well, I'll show you this in a minute, that there is some claim activity there. Interestingly, though, when we said, do you know a lot about it? We had less than a third who really felt comfortable saying, yeah, I know exactly what fiber and protein do for my body. When you get down into some of the more niche ingredients, awareness of what they do and confidence in really buying a product without understanding what it's going to do to your body really diminishes pretty significantly. If we compare there's a correlation between what consumers understand and what they're seeing on the shelf. And so I pulled out those top ones, which remember were gluten-free and allergen-free. And I just focused on the ones that they said they knew a lot about. So you see protein. Yep. Protein launch activity has certainly picked up in the last few years. And so they're aware of protein now. Do they know exactly what it does? No, but they know something about it. Similarly, fiber, which was really hit its peak in terms of supporting launch activity back in 2012, but it's still out there in the top four. Caffeine has started to pick up momentum in terms of being associated claim with a food or beverage. And then antioxidants really had their peak back in 2009, but there's been still enough activity associated with launches for people to say, yeah, I think I know what an antioxidant is. I know what it does. What's missing from this chart and what's missing from their understanding was that allergen-free. Remember, that was one that was associated with a lot of products. And I'm going to go back up for a second. In terms of what they want, allergen-free was actually third from the bottom. So the things that manufacturers are currently talking about a lot on pack aren't necessarily aligned with what consumers want to see or what they're looking for. So we wanted to look across those different benefit areas and understand what are the ingredients that consumers associate with these different benefits. Now, it kind of calls into questions that for us, the ingredients that you choose to deliver functionality. So, aligning with consumer understanding or planning to include some sort of educational component in your marketing is really essential to getting trial. So let's take a look at the top 6. Now, in the ebook that I have that I'll distribute to you after the meeting, I go into each one of the 19 benefit areas we explore, but these are the top 6. So when it comes to immunity, antioxidants are an ingredient that people associate with immunity, even if they don't fully understand what they are. And then you see the rest of them here. For brain health, it's the omegas and ginkgo biloba. There are mentions of neurotropics. We did ask about that. And although people do that association, over half couldn't name any product that they had seen with nootropics. So again, there's that disconnect between the ingredient and the benefit itself. And without that understanding, that's what leads to that skepticism and distrust. On heart health, you have the omegas and antioxidants. Anti-inflammatory, turmeric and curcumin are pretty closely linked. And then you see the rest associated there. Digestive health is fiber and pre and probiotics. Pre and probiotics have done a really good job of publicizing the products that have those and their purpose and what you can get from them. They've done a really good job with education on that. And then from relaxation, there's melatonin, lavender, CBD, THC, and tryptophan. Now, this doesn't mean that if you launch a product with a functional benefit associated with relaxation and you choose tryptophan as your solution, that it won't sell. We're just trying to point out ingredients where you're going to get that recognition that gets that trust and gets it into the cart. So we understand the benefits they're looking for, what they know about ingredients, and some of the associations they make between ingredients and benefits. But then we wanted to know which categories they shop to find them and which flavors align with those benefits. Are there differences between the benefits or the flavors that would go with energy, for example, and those that would go with immunity? We wanted to explore that a little further, again, to help you craft that blueprint for your NPD activity. These are the categories that we looked at, and we used Mintel data and launch activity to choose these categories because this is where we're seeing functional activity bubble up. So it's not inclusive of every category, but it's certainly some of the big hitters. So we have bakery items like cereal, muffins, and grain-based bars, cold beverages, refreshing beverages. So juice, soda, cold coffee, cold tea, waters would be there. We did not include alcoholic beverage in this, but I think from a cold beverage perspective, it would fit in this category. From a confectionery, we looked at chocolate, hard candy, gummies, and gum, creamers, both dairy and non-dairy, dairy-like beverages, which could be a drinkable yogurt or anything plant-based, dry or powdered mixed beverages, which could be for protein shakes or water enhancers, for example. Energy drinks are self-explanatory. Hot beverages are self-explanatory. Ice cream, frozen desserts. We included vitamins and supplements deliberately. We asked people to focus on it from a more food-like perspective, so not those that you would take orally, but the gummies, lozenges, and chewables. We did it deliberately because we know that vitamins and supplements are consumers' go-to. And we wanted to see how these other categories compared to what is often the fallback for consumers. And then we included yogurt as well. We also asked about a series of flavor families. So which flavors do you associate with these categories and benefits? And these are the families that we showed to them. And we gave examples of each one because going forward, we just talked about the main and didn't have all this text, but berry, fruit, citrus, melon, simple, sweet, tropical, fun flavors, indulgent flavors, spices, and botanical. So a fairly broad portfolio of flavor options for them to mix and match. So with that as a backdrop, let's get started. And I've looked at the top 10 functional benefits that they're looking for, but as I mentioned in the ebook, it's more comprehensive. So let's take a look at immunity. Not surprisingly, you see vitamins and supplements right at the top. Following that, the categories that fit with the benefit of immunity most, the top five, the remaining four, are dry powdered mixed beverages, yogurt. And I have an example here that's a Yoplait yogurt that talks about immunity boost. Hot beverages and cold beverages. And I have an example here. It's a juice, Oasis, and it talks about immune force. Now, the other categories, if you don't see the category that you represent reflected in the top five, I have another perspective in a few slides that still teases insights apart. So there are insights for all of those categories we looked at. We'll get to that in a little bit. In terms of the flavors that are associated with each one of these benefits, green are those that really hit it out of the ballpark in terms of, yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me. So those are above average. The orange color is average, and the yellow is just a little above average. Anything you see in white, so for example, under yogurt, of course you're going to have a fruit flavored yogurt. Just means that, yeah, that's out there, that's acceptable. But in terms of what would fit with an immunity claim, you know what, perhaps I want to see something in, I could do a simple sweet, more difficult in a dairy-based product to do a citrus or a melon, but those are the types of flavors that they associate with immunity. So you see citrus and melon really linking across many of these categories. But there's lots of opportunity as you go across. Hot beverage is probably the most versatile. You have a lot of flavors that index above average there. In terms of brain health, categories that fit with that benefit after supplements are the dry powdered mixed beverages, dairy-like beverages like this chocolate lava plant milk that promotes brain health, hot beverages, and then grain-based items. So I have an example here. This is an IQ bar, excuse me, and there's a lot going on the front of the pack. So you have IQ bar, plant protein, keto. So the messaging is a little bit chaotic. There's a lot on here, and so you can kind of see where some of the confusion comes with consumers. But nonetheless, they could see where, you know what, if you give me a bar or a cereal with brain health, I can see how that fits. From a flavor perspective, dairy-like beverages are probably the most versatile in terms of accepting a lot of flavors. Dry beverage mixes too, there's a lot that fall into the average. When you get into hot beverage, you need to be a little bit more judicious in terms of brain health. Botanicals seem to make the most sense to people. So that's matcha, hibiscus, that kind of thing, that makes sense to them. And in bakery, you have a lot that are above average, with tropical as the standout. And so, when it comes to flavor, it's about thinking about the ingredient that you're including, the flavor pairing that makes sense, what your brand story is, and what you're trying to accomplish. So there's that whole integration, but this will give you an idea of the palette you have to work with. In terms of heart health, after vitamins and supplements, bakery items make sense, probably because of the link with fiber and heart health. Yogurt, dry mixed beverages, and dairy-like beverages. So I have a couple examples here where you've got some healthy chocolate bars, and this is a dry mix. A lot of flavor opportunity in the heart health arena, especially on yogurts. See a lot of green here, a little bit on bakery. Dairy-like beverages, there's a couple standouts. If you go that route, to do a fruit or a simple sweet probably makes the most sense for consumers. When it comes to anti-inflammatory, you see again, these leaderboard tends to be pretty consistent. The powdered mixed beverages, hot beverages, grain-based items or cereal, like this example here, granola, Golden Glow with ginger, which is associated with anti-inflammatory, and dairy-like beverages. This is a mix. This is a latte mix that promotes anti-inflammatory. A lot of colors when it comes to flavor pairings. On the mix side, again, anti-inflammatory, the immunity boost, those tend to be parallel in consumers' minds. So you see a lot of citrus and melon, a little bit of spice popping up. And in fact, anti-inflammatory, the link to cinnamon and ginger in particular, I think that's really what's driving spice across most of these categories. When it comes to digestive health, this is one of the few categories where one of the foods options, food or beverage options, actually outwon the vitamins and supplement by a small margin. So yogurt is the top category associated with digestive health, and that has a lot to do with all of the educational efforts that yogurt manufacturers have put into making sure consumers understand what yogurt can do for them. But there's also dairy-like beverages like this probiotic cashew milk yogurt, drinkable yogurt, dry mixes, and then grain-based bakery items. So this is actually a cereal bar that came out of the Netherlands, I believe. And they promote right on it. It's for body and it's for gut health. Really clear labeling, really clear benefit linkage for people. Oh, I know exactly what this is going to do for me. So very clear. The probiotic, if you know what probiotics are, is right there on the front of the pack, probably clearer than we've seen on some of these other examples, but they don't really get into what that's going to do for you. So it requires a little bit of research on the part of the consumer. From a flavor perspective on digestive, again, knowing that link between fiber and digestion on the bakery side gives you a wide portfolio of flavors to choose from on bakery. Dairy-like beverages have a couple pockets of growth. Yogurt, again, boy, linking a melon flavor with a dairy-based yogurt is a challenge. Not insurmountable, but perhaps one of these above average, not way above average, but above average might be a better way to go. I like the idea that botanicals are starting to emerge a little bit more than we've seen historically. They're at least open to exploring botanicals more than we've seen in the past. When it comes to relaxation, hot beverages rank after vitamins, and that really is kind of an innate quality associated with hot beverage categories. You drink something warm and you find yourself relaxing. But there are beverages like this example here from Great Value. It's a relaxation drink mix. Again, really calling out that benefit clearly on the front of the pack. This is for relaxation. And then they have a blackberry hibiscus, which falls into that botanical category. So it's a very clear positioning in terms of its benefits. And cold beverages also make the top 5. And so here's an example that is more positioned through inference, I would guess, than direct communication. So you have Soul Boost, maybe. The name of the product is Ease, which suggests relaxation. And I have to put my glasses on to read the flavor. Hold on. Blackberry passion fruit. Well, maybe. Oh, and L-theanine is the ingredient. And we knew from that earlier work that that's really at the bottom of the list in terms of consumer understanding. So potentially a really niche product, one that could succeed, but may not reach its full potential simply because of the on-pack communication. Flavor delivery. Dry mix beverages seem to have the most versatility when it comes to flavors. So a lot of fruit flavors that seem to work. Citrus, again, hitting across a number of the beverage categories. Dairy-like beverages, fruit flavors are okay, same with cold. And then cold beverages extend to melon. And you've got a little bit of spice that you could put into a dairy-like beverage too. So I thought that was an interesting take. Could you do a cinnamon or a ginger potentially? That might help with relaxation. When it comes to pain relief, mixes are at the top after vitamins, followed by confections. And confectionery really refers to lozenges. And most of that has to do with a throat and neck pain, chest pain. There are some hot beverages, particularly in the tea category, that make claims about helping with pain relief. And 2, there's that inherent quality of hot beverages that as you're relaxing, sometimes there's an easing of pain and discomfort as well. Cold beverages were also associated with pain relief. I couldn't find any relevant recent examples of those, but happy to dig into that if that's a question. When it comes to flavor profiles, dry mixed beverages, again, the most versatile in terms of pairings. Confectionery has a lot of opportunity with a hot spot around tropical. Hot beverages and cold beverages too. Although you don't necessarily see pain relief in the fun, indulgent, and spice category, from consumers' perspective, you know what? This is something that is an opportunity. So that could be some flavor innovation that would set you apart from what's currently on the shelf. In terms of anti-aging, dry powdered mixed beverages are at the top after supplements. And matcha, this is a matcha tea mix, so it kind of hits on 2 perspectives. It's a mix, but it's also a hot beverage. And then we have yogurt and confections. And this is an example of confectionery. It's a goji, yogurt-covered goji berries. It does not say anything on it about anti-aging or longevity. You just have to know that goji berries are a link to that. So here's another example of where it's probably a great tasting product, certainly on trend, but it falls just a little bit short of that on-pack communication that might get it into the cart a little bit more often. From a flavor perspective, hot beverages are the most versatile. And if you think of most of them in teas or mixes, that probably makes sense. Dry mixed beverages also, I think these 2 are really closely linked in this category. There's opportunity in yogurt. Again, there's that citrus. That's a bit of a challenge. Confectionery, melon might be an interesting way to go, but you have a number of opportunities in confections. that could help with anti-aging. Fruit, tropical, fun, all index pretty significantly above average. And joint health. Dry powdered mixed beverages, again, yogurt, dairy-like beverages like this Rebel product that's golden turmeric. Doesn't really call out on pack that it talks about joint health. Unlike this hot beverage, which positions itself as comfort, but then right under that it says very clearly supports joint health. And then it calls out turmeric, and it is coconut and ginger flavored herbal tea. So to me, this is another example of really a best practice in terms of communicating functionality. From a flavor perspective, again, a lot of opportunities here. Things that you might not associate it with joint health. So they're looking for something that, you know what, give me a little indulgence. Maybe because I have to deal with aches and pains, could you let me give myself a little bit of treat in some of these categories. Spices there, botanicals, hot beverage, we see tropical and spice. So again, you know, and you'll have this in your ebook as well. You have a broad portfolio to work with across these platforms, across these functions and categories. And lastly, energy. Not surprisingly, energy drinks is really right on the heels of vitamins and supplements. So they too, as a category, collectively, have done a really good job of very clearly spelling out the benefit and then delivering on those results. People also associate dry powdered mixed beverages. So here's an example. This is a lard Instafuel that's matcha that delivers energy, cold beverages, and hot beverages. And on the cold beverage side, I found this juice example that in its product description says I'm a natural source of energy, which I thought was an interesting take because you wouldn't think of an apple juice in and of itself. But they've tried to position themselves as a functional solution for consumers. And they've already overcome the barrier since it's a recognizable form and flavor. They're now saying, yeah, and oh, by the way, we do this for you as well. Flavor portfolio, you know, compared to some of the other categories where we saw a lot of green on these charts, energy is probably the one where there's fewer standouts. Within energy beverages, an untapped opportunity, or maybe one that's already there and just hasn't been fully maximized, is citrus. Tropical on the dry mixed beverage side. On cold beverages, they're interested in simple sweets, so something with vanilla or chocolate or caramel or butterscotch. I thought that was an interesting take. Or melon, indulgent and spice. And on hot beverage, there's an opportunity untapped to deliver something that's more indulgent than they can currently find today. Now, as I mentioned, if your category that you're working in didn't make the top 5, we do have another way to look at this. So this next chart says, and this is for ice cream and frozen desserts, compared to other categories, which benefits weigh or outweigh for ice cream and frozen desserts compared to the others. So that's what this chart represents. The proximity between the line and the benefit indicates stronger association. I have them color-coded to match those health buckets, those health associations. So up at the top, a desired benefit from ice cream and frozen dessert, not surprisingly, is give me more lactose-free options. From a baseline health perspective, if you could do something that helps with digestive health, that's something that fits in my mind with that category. And then also emotional well-being and mood enhancement. And here too, like we saw for hot beverages, ice cream and frozen desserts in and of itself, you know, innately bring a well-being and an elevated mood. And so consumers readily link those benefits with that category. Now, could you add an ingredient to enhance that? Absolutely. They'd be willing to accept that because it already aligns with their expectations and experience with the category. Now, I still took a look at flavors associated with these different benefits that are popping up above average. A lot of opportunity in ice cream, as you know, right? It's a pretty versatile base. So you see a lot in the citrus and melon, a lot in the fun. Everybody wants something that's going to be fun or indulgent. And here too, we start to see botanical emerging more than we've seen historically. So I think, you know, associating a functional benefit with a botanical is something that makes sense to consumers in this category. I also took a look at creamers because that was one that didn't make those top 5 consistently. Just like we saw with ice cream, lactose-free is one of those free from, along with gluten-free. I think it may inherently be gluten-free, but it makes sense to people. From a baseline perspective, anti-aging and longevity is something that could fit with a creamer, as could joint health. And then emotional well-being, like ice cream, to some extent, If you're pouring a sploosh of creamer into your coffee, it is delivering perhaps a little emotional well-being, but you could enhance that and have it be acceptable to consumers. You see, mood enhancement is there too, just not as strong as emotional well-being. So remember, if you take it back to those ingredients that consumers chose for those, that's where you begin to plan your matrix of where to go if this is a benefit that you want to call out on pack. From a flavor perspective, if you do go down that route, you have a lot of flavor opportunities. Joint health, perhaps less so, although there are pockets, berry and citrus, if you wanted to go there. And then anti-aging, which I thought was an interesting one. Here too, you have quite a few flavor profiles that would fit with an anti-aging solution. So that's a really high-level overview of a lot of data. As I mentioned, there's more detail in the ebook that I'll send to you. And then if we'll get to Q&A in just a moment, and I can address any further questions. But before I get there, I did want to touch on our solutions model here at FlavorSum, because the webinar and all the educational resources that we have on our website tie into our model, which is, you know what, we'll meet you where you're at. We will help you wherever you are in your NPD journey, whether it's saying, gosh, I'm just starting in this area of functionality, where should I begin? With market and consumer insights, we can help inform that decision-making process. We have regulatory folks who can help navigate the complexity associated with some of the functional ingredients. Our flavor creators and application scientists will create those flavor profiles that fit the function and the brand and your brand story, and make sure that it performs as you expect in your application and as consumers want. We will help with scale up, and we'll do sensory and analytic to make sure that when you go into full production, you're getting the results that you want. So it's a circle, which means, you know, we'll continue to partner with you throughout your journey to success. And as I said, we'll meet you where you're at. And so with that, I will open it for questions. If you don't mind putting your questions in the chat, I'm going to escape out of here, go over to the chat, see if we have any questions. I'm hoping you're still able to see my screen. I have to put my glasses on to see the small screen, so bear with me. Any questions for me? Well, I either did a darn good job or I've completely overwhelmed you. Oh, Andrew has a question, maybe? Oh, I've overwhelmed you. I'm not sure what that yes is in response to. All right. Well, I thank you very much for your time today. I hope that you found this useful. I hope you've gotten some insights and that it's starting the brainstorming process for you, or if you're headed down the path to certain functional benefits in your products, that we've given you some flavor ideas. I'm going to go back to my screen. Let me see. Oh, I do have one. It says kombucha seems to be a hot item. Yes, I think it could be. It would fall into the cold beverage arena in terms of its solutions. Oh, am I not on the screen anymore? Oh, okay. Sorry. I don't understand. It says, what seems to be the data? Was this recorded? Yes. This has been recorded. It'll go back and reference. What seems to be the data surrounding the growth of kombucha? Yeah, you know, I'll dig into it, but it really is more from a consumer's perspective. They understand that there's a digestive benefit to it, an anti-inflammatory benefit to it, particularly depending on the ingredients and the flavors. So it falls into the anti-inflammatory and digestive health for the most part. I have another question here that says, what types of stores are notated in the study? That's also a good question. We asked where they shopped for functional foods and beverages, and they included online, health and wellness stores, and general retail. So again, the goal with this was to get as broad an audience and as broad a perspective and a set of experiences as possible. Yes, so grocery and specialty were both included. Yep. All right, so I'm going to go back to my screen. Okay, hopefully you're able to see me. So if you are interested in additional information or you have questions about anything you've presented today, you can reach out to me directly. It's ljackson@flavorsum.com. You can also reach me at marketing@flavorsum.com, or on this presentation, there's our 800 number, and you can call us there too, and we'll connect you with one of our experts to answer your questions. So with that, I will wish you a good afternoon, and I'm grateful for your time today. Thanks very much. Have a good day. We'll talk to you soon.